Tonight's guest is Jay. Jay, welcome to the show.
Hello, Vic. How are you doing today?
Hey, Jay, I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing all right.
Good. Well, that beats the alternative. Jay, please give us a brief bio on yourself.
Well, my name's Jeremy. I go by Jay. I'm from Oklahoma. Kind of a southern boy. I'm an outdoorsman. I like to rumble through the woods with my fishing pole and deer hunt. And I got 2 kids. I got a daughter that's 11 and a son that's 10. Just so crazy that my daughter was born on St. Patrick's Day, and I found a 4-leaf clover 2 weeks before her birthday, and I framed it for her. But I raised up in Oklahoma, but then I moved to Louisiana there for about a year or 2 in the backwoods of Louisiana, down there in the swamps, and kind of seen some things down there, like some alligators and stuff like that. I always love going out fishing. That's just my thing, you know. I can't have enough of the water. And if that's where I could be, that's where I would be at, you know, all day, every day. Just out there by the water and the lake, fishing, campfire, tent, RV. I would actually like to own my own RV and bait tackle shop one day. That's my whole goal. My retirement plan is when I'm about 40 something, I would like to have an RV to just travel all the states like Minnesota, the Great Lakes, just going on 4th of July weekend and having a bait and tackle shop right there where I can open up and just kind of sell bait and tackle to the fishermen so they don't have to leave their area, you know, because it's a long drive to go back in town if you lose a hook or 2 or some fishing string. And, well, there I am in the RV. So that's my retirement plan. Other than that, I'm just down here in Oklahoma. I'm a landscaper. I was a foreman for Edmond Landscapes here in Oklahoma there for a while, and then I moved to a golf course, and I became the boss out there at the golf course, and I was setting up the golf game early in the morning, you know, and it's right next to a zoo. The zoo is right behind the golf course that I worked at, so every morning I'd get out there about 5 in the morning and get stuff ready with my headlamp on my head and my golf cart and my little tools, and I would always hear the wild animals behind me. You know, sometimes I'd see some open deer run through the fields because there's a tree line right there. It's actually in Martin Luther King down here in Oklahoma. It's called Lincoln Park Golf Course is where I worked. It's for the city. But I heard all kinds of animals before, you know, and well, that's what my story's kind of going at. But other than that, I just really like going outdoor and fishing. I just caught my biggest catfish or flathead in October, actually, in the middle of cold weather, cold season, about 4:30 in the morning. I'm out here by Lake Overholster in Oklahoma, and I'm out fishing. And I set out my whole year goal plan of this year to catch at least a 10-pounder or bigger, because I haven't caught a 10-pound flathead since I was a kid, probably about 8 or 9 years old with my pops. And I just didn't remember the fight because I was so young, you know. So I fished all year long, man. I even broke my ankle and was in a wheelchair down there fishing like I wasn't about to give up. And finally in October, I got 2 lines out there. I got a little minnow swimming around, and then I got me a little bluegill, a little perch, just a couple inches big. Well, I get one bite, and it's about a 3.5 pound, 4 pound blue. So, you know, I set my pole back up and I'm waiting. About another 20 minutes goes by, and then I get just a little tap on it, and I see my glow stick out there just kind of bobbing up. So I set the hook on him, and it was a monster. Let me tell you, it pulled me ankle deep in because my reel, I just wasn't ready for how big he was going to be. And it kind of stripped the reel, you know, the bearings a little bit. So I had to walk out ankle deep to kind of give him some line to play with, you know, so he wouldn't break it. Well, finally it caught it, you know, the line started coming out, and I drug him up. It was about a 45-minute fight with this flathead, and I weighed him out. He was 25 pounds. He was half the size of me. That's not telling you much. I'm only about 5'4", 5'5", 36 years old. I'm born in November. I just had a birthday actually on the 14th of this month. So I thought it was real cool. I caught him, you know. I didn't give up on my goal plan that I set out. Most people, you know, they'll put a goal out there at the beginning of the year and just not succeed through it all the way through. They'll kind of lose their track of what they're wanting to do for the year. I know the groups that I hang around, they do, they're always joking around with it. Well, I stuck to my guns and I fished every dang day, but I love it anyway. But I did it even with a broken ankle and a wheelchair and, caught them.
Wow, a man that breaks his ankle and winds up still fishing in a wheelchair. He's serious about fishing. I'm impressed. You sure are lucky that big Tusker catfish didn't pull you out into the deep water, though.
Oh, only ankle deep.
Yeah, thank goodness for that.
And you got to think he's 25 pounds and I'm 5'4" and about 130 pounds. I'm not a very big guy, I'm a small figured guy. So he put up a heck of a fight.
Well, catfish normally do, so I believe it, especially one that big. Loving to fish the way you do, how often did you fish before you had that first encounter?
I fished all the time. I fished as much as I could. Any chance, any possibility that there was, I had my fishing post in the back of the Jeep of our car, and if we had some spare time or free time and I seen a river or I seen a fishing pond, I'd tell her, hey, pull over, let me go throw my line in the water for about 30, 40 minutes, see what I can do. So, I was always doing it as much as I could when I had the chance.
Yeah, sounds like you did go a lot. How did that first encounter you had affect your interest in fishing, though?
Well, it kind of stopped me from going late at night to lakes like that, because I just didn't know what was out there, man. Like, my friends were laughing at me thinking it was all funny and a game. And I'm like, man, it was real. Like, I seen some stuff out there, man. It was real. And I didn't know what was going to happen to me, dude. And it's kind of made me slow down at the night fishing in a wooded area like that. And, it's just a little spooky now.
Oh, I'm sure it is. Yeah, you went from it being a safe place to just go and enjoy the fishing to all of a sudden you know what's really out there. So, no, that makes sense. When you told your friends about that first encounter and they told you that you were crazy, did that almost hurt as much as having the encounter itself?
Yeah, a little bit, because I was telling the truth and they just kept thinking I was lying and making something up or saying that I was messed up, I was drunk. And it kind of just upset me a little bit to think that they would think that I'm not telling the truth about it.
Well, I'm sure it did hurt. Yeah, anytime you have an experience like that and you reach out to friends or family for help and they do that, they respond that way, then yeah, it is going to hurt. Before we move on, if you've had a Dogman encounter of your own and would like to speak with me about it, whether in private or on the show, either way is fine, please go to dogmanencounters.com and submit a report. I'd love to hear from you. All right, Jay, please tell us about your encounters now. Give us every last detail that comes to mind.
Okay, Vic. I was at my house, actually, with my girlfriend, which was really cool because at that moment, I started working my the golf course, and she was working at UPS, which was only about 2 miles down the road from this house. Well, we're homeless, and my mom, before she passed, she was a very Christian woman, always went to church, and there was a pastor named Jimmy Bean, and then there was a guy named Billy, which was his grandson or nephew, and my sister was with them at the time, my older sister, which I call her like my second mom, because she was always there for me, and I'm always going to love her, but we're just living out there, and they told me that, hey, the pastor has an extra house just kind of right down the road from us over here on Portland in Oklahoma. So we started renting this house for like a month or two. So that's where I'm at. I'm in this house now. I have a car. I actually had an Impala 2001, man. And let me tell you, I really love that Impala, man. I had fixed that stereo in there really well. Like I put an old school Alpine in there with about a 1500 watt amp with 212s, so I'm beating like an Impala should be, I had the windows tinted and, just rode real smooth. First Chevy, actually, that I ever owned. And the thing I could think of was while I was driving that car was that old Chevy commercial, like a rock. Cause, I mean, I've had like 3 accidents in that bad boy at the time, and it just never fended me. Like, I'm all metal, baby. And they were plastic. Like, it dented them up, not me. And it was like a rock. So I'm sitting there, and we get into this hot discussion, me and my girlfriend, and we start arguing. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to leave. I'm going to go cool off. I'm going to get in my car. I'm going to go smoke a cigarette, listen to some music, and I'm going to go jam out and just take off. And like I said before, you know, I always carry my fishing poles in my car. So that's nothing new, you know. So my steps in the car, and I get in the car to get away from the situation of me and her arguing. And I just kind of hit the highway, and it's pretty late at night. It's roughly around 2:30-ish, 3, maybe 2:40. And I'm just driving on the highway over here on I-240, going south, you know, going out towards the country, not even paying attention to any roads or what I'm doing, just jamming and smoking a cigarette and just relaxing, you know. And I start heading out towards Choctaw and Peebly and all that out there. And that's more out into the country now. You know, I'm out of city limits now, and I kind of just, it's roughly around 3 now. And I'm not even paying attention. And that's the thing that's getting me, is because I can't remember where I was exactly at the time. But I pull off the exit. It's got pavement on it at the time. You know, I mean, there's pavement for about a half a mile. I'm on a pavement road, so I'm thinking I'm doing good. But then it turns into a dirt road. And there's woods all around it. And it's super dark. And I'm already kind of night blind. Like, it's really hard for me to start, you know, kind of see at night that great. So I'm just cruising along, man, through these woods, these dirt roads, and I'm zigzagging, taking a left, and I'm riding, and I'm just jamming out, getting lost out in the country on these roads, not even thinking nothing, you know. And I start thinking about my girl, because I look over at the passenger, and well, there's her hoodie. And it wasn't that cold. Just at night, she liked to wear a hoodie when she got off work, because she worked sometimes at night at UPS. But I believe it was in the middle of summer. And this was last year, actually. So it was, yeah, I'm going to say about late July. So it's pretty good and warm, but still a little breeze coming in. And I'm on these dirt roads, just lost. And there's this fog that kind of comes over the road, which is kind of crazy. And I'm like, this deep fog kind of just covered the road for a while. And I slowed the car down real slow, and I turned my low beams on, you know, because that's what I was told you're supposed to do. Because you put the high beams on, you can't see through the fog. So I turned my lows on, and I kind of cranked my music down a little bit so I kind of listen to see what's going on, and turn my window down. So I'm just driving in this fog, and I'm missing her right now because we just got into this argument, everything, and well, the fog, you know, so I'm going real slow in this fog. And it goes on for I'm guessing for at least a mile of fog, and I'm not even sure where I'm at now because of the fog and everything. And well, I come out of the fog. Right at the ending of this fog, there's a lake in front of me, and there's a boat dock. And well, you know, of course, like I told you earlier, I love fishing, you know, so I'm thinking this is a good opportunity to go out and fish and just chill out and get my mind off of everything. So I pull up, you know, and there's a whole tree line. Okay, there's a tree line, there's an old boat dock, and the thing is I don't really recall this lake, the spot right here. I'm not even sure where I'm at the moment, because I've never really been there. And it's kind of got fog over the water, but there's no fog behind me. Just there's like a smoke over the water over there. And I park the car and I get out and light me up a cigarette, and I'll walk up to the boat dock and get my pose all set up and get ready to get thrown out. And I start thinking about baby again because I love her and I missed her. And I'm like, man, I wish we wasn't arguing and everything. But I was like, at the same time, I was like, well, I am at a good lake probably, I'm thinking maybe I can catch something good. So I was 50-50 on it, but I got my fishing poles now set up and I throw them out there and I'm fishing for a minute and I'm watching this smoke over. Well, I hear this sound, Vic. And like I told you before, I worked at the golf course behind the zoo. So I've heard some wild animals, different kind of animals because it's a zoo, but this sound, the only sound that I could think of at the time was hyena sound, like like that kind of sound, like a pack of them. And I'm like, where's this coming from? I don't see them. I just hear them. And so I'm just like, it stops for a minute. So I blow it off, when I'm in the back of my mind, I'm like trying to figure out what this is. And at the time I don't have a phone. My phone's turned off. I turned it off way earlier so I wouldn't have no distractions. So I wouldn't be arguing with her on the ride so I could cool off, So I don't have a phone or nothing. And there ain't nobody else out there but me. I don't see no cars. I don't see nothing. And if you ever heard a beaver slap the water with its tail, it sounds like something in the water. And that's the second sound that I'm hearing is there's a beaver out there slapping the water. But then I looked over about 80 feet diagonally, sitting over there on the rocks, standing. My first thought was, man, that's a bear. What is a bear doing in Oklahoma? What is this thing? And like I told you, I can't see great at night, but I can see the outline and I can see it and I can see the fur and it's black and there is some silver in it and his face was kind of squished in. And this is the details that I can get that I'm looking at. And he's throwing these rocks into the water. He's not paying attention to me at all. He's just throwing these big rocks into the water and they're going doosh, doosh. And I'm like, man, this is weird. This is really freaking weird. And I'm not even sure what it is right now. Cause I'm thinking I'm in Oklahoma. There was black bears out, I think east, more like out towards Eufaula and all that. I think there was some out there in the mountains, in the Wichita mountains and stuff like that, but not out here. I'm guessing I'm only about 30, 40 miles out of the city limits now, cause I didn't think I drove that far out of the city to be out east, cause that takes like 2 hours to get out there. So I'm like thinking, what is this? And I get this presence that something is staring at me. And I'm still on this boat dock in the middle of the water, in the middle of the night. It's probably close to about 3:40ish. And there's still that smoke on the water. And it was a clear night. There was a bright moon. There was a bright moon out there. And that was one of the things that I do remember because I was like, man, it's a nice moon. And I love fishing on a full moon. But I feel this presence staring at me from the tree lines behind me, kind of where my car's parked at. I would say the tree line from my car, about 120 feet, the difference of my car and that tree line. And I'm probably about 80 feet from that tree line out towards the water. And that other bear that's standing on the rocks diagonally from me was, I want to guess, about 70 to 80 feet out there. But there was no way, unless he walked all the way around them tree lines to come over to my face, he would have to, take that whole walk around. Because there was all them trees going into the water. So he couldn't just, unless he went into the water and walked towards me, then he could get to me. But other than that, he was on the rock line that started from the tree line and up. But then I look behind me and dude, it's like two hyenas, but I only see their face and half of their neck. I don't see their whole body. I just see it from the neck up and there's two of them and their hair rose up and it was black with silver tip on it. And they're just staring at me. And don't get me lying, I want to say the eyes color, I don't remember, honestly. I want to say they're red and I want to say they're yellow, but I just think my mind went blank at the moment that I was staring at them like that, and I don't remember the eye color, but I do remember their face, and I remember their fur, and I remember this, and it looked like a hyena, but like two taller ones. And I'm thinking in my head, dude, hyenas in Oklahoma. Then an overwhelming sense of fear and just get the heck out of there. Get my stuff and go. I gotta go. You know, that's what it's telling me. That's what I'm feeling. And I couldn't reel up my post faster than I ever had in my life. And I didn't want to run. But I wanted to walk fast and cautiously to the car. I felt like if I was going to run, then I might would have set something off and they might have attacked me. So I kind of just stood tight and walked real fast with my stuff in my hand. And I got in my car so fast that I broke my fishing pose off. And, so I'm driving down these dirt roads. I'm smashing now. Like I'm in my car, you know, this is the Impala, baby. It's like a rock. So I'm driving heck out of there, out of Dodge, and I'm hitting these roads, man. And, finally I come to a pavement road, and this was probably about 15 minutes or so after driving down these roads out of getting there. And it's like Alameda Street out in Norman, Oklahoma. And, I find my way back from there because, you know, I know my directions now. I'm in Alameda and Norman, and I can get on the highway again and get back home. Well, I get home. It's roughly about 6:30, almost 7 in the morning. And I'm sitting on my couch, man. I can't sleep. I'm smoking a whole pack of cigarettes. I'm just sitting there thinking of what I just seen. Well, my girlfriend and my buddy walks in the house, and I look at them, and they're looking at me, and I tell them, I said, hey, man, you'll never believe what I just seen. And they was like, what? I said, I seen a bear and 2 hyenas in Oklahoma at this lake. And that's the only thing that I could think of. I never heard of Dogman. I never heard of anything like that before. And so those were the only 2 things that I could think of that I seen, and I just couldn't wrap around with. They called me crazy, and they were like, was you drunk? Was you messed up? I said, no, I left. That night when me and her got into the argument, I didn't get drunk. I didn't do anything. I just went and pulled my mind off. And she goes, yeah, well, she knew because I left right there while we were arguing. I wasn't drinking. And she told my buddy, she goes, yeah, he wasn't messed up because I was with him all night. And he just didn't believe me. Well, she did. She kind of believed me a little bit because we have seen some strange things in the sky before. And like, we were out pilfering one night on the south side, you know, we was just going through stuff like big trash, and there's a lot of cool stuff with my other cousin. It's me, my girl, my cousin, and we're in the Impala, and we get up to 25th of May, and man, I'm surprised I didn't notice it. But there's this circle-shaped object floating in the air. I mean, these are just some of the strange things that me and her have seen over the time, and me and her has been through a lot of places. I took her all the way to Nevada, Las Vegas, Arizona, the Grand Canyon. I mean, I showed this girl the life, you know, like she hasn't had before. And I think that's maybe why she loves me. But so it was just real strange. And so she kind of partially believed me. But then again, she was skeptic about it too, because it's hard to believe that. And I'm telling her, like, man, this is real. So I kind of just didn't go back fishing late at night like that by myself again. I would go, it just dramatized me to think that there was something out there that was crazy. Like, especially a pack of hyenas and a wild bear together. It just didn't make sense to me. So I would go every occasionally with a buddy of mine or so. If we had a lantern, we'd go out to the night, you know, night fishing. But it took a cool while before I started going out fishing again. And this is when the second occurrence happened to me. Because I'm in a wheelchair now. Yeah, this is when I broke my ankle, and I told you I was determined to catch that big one this year. Well, me and my cousins at the house, it gets about 10:30 at night or so, and I'm just super bored, man, sitting there in a wheelchair. Like, I'm like, man, I got some fishing bait, man. I'm about, you know, and they start talking, they're drinking, and my sister, which stays way across town in this little bitty house, she's arguing about my little couple of suitcases of clothes. And nobody would give me a ride. So I'm like, you know, I'm going to go handle up on my own. I'm going to get in this wheelchair. I'm going to push myself down the river walk all the way down to Martin Luther King where my sister stays. But I'm taking my fishing post because on the way I'm going to fish, you know, because it's all the way down the river, just one shot, but in a wheelchair. And at night, I'm crazy, right? And so I pedal off. I had to be on the main road for about a mile and a half. It was about 11:30, and I'm pushing myself with my backpack and my fishing poles in this wheelchair. And I finally get to the on-ramp to the bike trails of the river. About that time I did all this, it took me so long. It's getting about 12:30, almost 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm halfway through this journey that I think I'm about to take, and I'm pushing myself down the river. I get tired. There ain't nobody around. It's late at night, and I've fished this area my whole life. And there's one street, there's a orange glow, a lamp, and it's kind of flickering. And I'm sitting there in my wheelchair, and I kind of doze off. But I hear this. I'm talking about like a beast, man, like a 100-pound Rottweiler just running up on me like as fast as possible, like he's about to attack me. Like my eyes wide open. I ball my fist up in the wheelchair. That's my only self-defense other than my hatchet that's in my backpack. And this thing was running like up on me, so I'm ready to punch it in the face, and there's nothing there, dude. I'm like, what? And I look down and there's these paw prints in the dirt, like fresh ones. And they're big. And there's nothing there. I didn't see anything. All I heard was that sound and it came so close. It came up on me, but it just went like, I don't know what it was. I swear to God, it was like a 100-pound Rottweiler, dude. It was humongous and it was coming fast. And mean. It was coming. And I think that one spooked me more than the other time because now I really don't even like going to that river at night, like by myself anymore. I just get a weird feeling and vibe, man. Like there's something in the woods watching me, Vic. That really spooked me out. Especially being in a wheelchair, I was defenseless. I'm 5'4" and I'm pretty tough. I'm not scared of nobody, I'll go out there and get a bloody nose if I got to. But man, this thing right here, I didn't have no self-defense. I was just in a wheelchair with a cast on my foot in the middle of the night in a wheelchair at the river. And, that's my story, man. And that's what happened to me. So, months go by, man. I really don't tell nobody other than my girlfriend and my buddy. And they told me I was crazy. So I got my niece Haley and my nephew Ian. Well, their dad's Clint, my brother-in-law. And I'm down there in the country. They stay out in Choctaw. And I'm down there visiting them. They're into this spooky stuff, They're cool with it, like we always have good conversations about it. Like it just gets going. And man, I start telling Clint, my brother-in-law, about this thing, and my niece Haley and my nephew's right there and they're listening. And Clint goes, dude, you've got to check this out on the internet, man. That sounds like a Dogman. And I'm like, what? What is a Dogman? And he puts these pictures on and I'm like, dude, that's it right there. Like I started getting chills down my spine. I started feeling like goosebumps. My hair rose up. I'm like staring at this picture like it's staring back at me. And I'm like, man, dude, that right there is what I seen. And he's like, for real? And he pulled out he gave me a hoodie actually of the Dogman radio. He's the one that introduced me to you, Vic. And he was like, dude, I listen to this every Friday night, man. You're going to have to get in contact with him and just tell your story because that's what it sounds like. And he would be the one to tell you more about it. And I'm like, yeah, I would like to do that, and, man. So, months went by before I actually contacted you. It was just the other day, a cool while. And I left their house and, in the back of my mind, I constantly was running it through my head at the Dogman and you and everything. Well, just the other day, I go down there and stay for about a week with every one of them. And of course, we start talking about stuff again. And that's when he actually showed me how to get in contact with you. And that's when he actually gave me the hoodie of the Dogman. And, I still, every time I see the picture of the Dogman, dude, that comes up on the internet, just like the one, it's just, it still gives me like a creepy feeling, like a weird feeling, like, I don't know if he knows that I'm even looking at his picture or something, man. It raises the hair on me to look at it. It really does. And so, I'm glad I got in contact with you to share my story to you and let you know.
Well, I'm glad you did too. Thank goodness for that. You gave us some details about how that bear like Dogman looked, but there are a lot of things you didn't tell us, a lot of things you left out. Please take your time now and describe them for us as accurately as you can from top to bottom.
Well, the one that was standing up is the one that I really got to kind of get the image of. Like I said, I'm not that great at seeing at night, and there was smoke on the water, but this thing was the size of a black bear, but skinnier on 2 feet. And dude, he was strong. He was picking up these rocks that were huge, and his face was squished in like a bear, kind of, with the squished in nose that I can remember. And I don't know about the ears, man. They weren't really that big either. I mean, he just had that kind of round face of one with the small, and I didn't get to see, any teeth. I mean, like I seen his mouth kind of open, but I didn't get to really see because I'm kind of hard at seeing at night, so I just got to see the image of it. But I could tell instantly. I seen the silver tips in his hair. That's what I did see. Especially the ones in the hyena. Now, the ones that I got to see from the neck up. Man, now those faces were the shape of like a hyena's faces. And they were kind of just snarling at me. I remember them just kind of like with their teeth, and they were just like kind of growling, but I didn't hear the growl. But I heard the hyena sound, but I seen the faces and they opened up, and like they were just kind of telling me, man, like, those were the descriptions. Like they had that face of a hyena, and I could just tell, man, like they were going to get me, and their neck wasn't that long. It was kind of a short neck, and the fur kind of went down. It was real fuzzy up in the neck area that raised up. There was a bunch of that fur, but then it kind of shedded out as I seen the neckline going down. And then on his chest area, I don't remember seeing that much of hair either, or on his legs. The eye colors, man, I can't remember. I went blank at the moment that I was like, I couldn't see him in the eyes, man, or something, like I just kind of lost it, went blank. But I kind of want to say they were like that moon yellowish. But then again, I'm thinking like maybe the other one has some red eyes. I just remember them 2 colors. And I ain't trying to lie about none of this. This is all real. But the jaw lines, yeah, I mean, and the fur that stood up on his ears. I mean, I don't know. It's still kind of crazy to think about it. If I start to really dig deep in my mind thinking about it again, pulling it out, because I just got freaked out, it was real. And the crazy thing is nobody really believes me about it. Like they thought I was just crazy. And I'm like, man, there was hyenas out there, but they were tall and just regular. They weren't real scrunched down. The ones that were there than 2, but the bear one, man, he was strong, throwing big rocks. And of course I'm a fisherman. I'm thinking beaver slapping the water. But then there's that figure throwing these rocks in the water, and I'm like, no. And I mean, that's the details that I can get into, because I didn't see him very long. I mean, well, the bear one, he was just standing there without even minding anybody's business, just doing it. So I did a good look at him, but it was so shadowy of a dark. I mean, because he was on the other side on the rocks, and I was out in the boat dock, so I seen the outline of him, and that's the description that I can remember, is that bare face squinched in, kind of him standing up, but skinny. I'm not gonna say he was probably about 5'6". I mean, he wasn't. What it looked to me, he was a little taller than me, and I'm about 5'4", so I'm thinking he was just a few inches taller than me. So that's why I say black bear, because I don't think black bears, they get tall, but not like a young black bear kind of. And me and my brother-in-law was thinking maybe he was like the youngster, out of him. He wasn't full grown or something, because he was like, man, they get really big. And I was like, well, this one wasn't. He was just like maybe 5'6" or so when he stood all the way up. But the other ones were pretty tall. Up in the air, but they weren't standing up. They were, on their paws.
If the one that looked kind of bear-like was only 5'6" or so, then yeah, that's pretty small for a dogman. There's no doubt about that. Could you see what his leg structure looked like? In other words, could you tell if he had hominid-style legs like people or a Sasquatch, or if he had legs like a dog?
To be honest with you, Vic, I don't really, I don't remember the bottom part of it. I mean, the leg part. I wish I would have focused in more and got my eyesight I just remember where I was standing from, and I'm not that great on measurements. I've never been that great in math and stuff like that. So, he could have been taller. His stomach part went in, but I don't remember the legs. Like, I don't remember if they were skinny or if they were fat. I don't remember I don't remember looking down at that part. Like, I was looking up into more of the chest area, because he was just standing there, and he wasn't as fat as a bear would be. He was skinnier, and yeah.
Well, don't feel bad about not knowing what his legs looked like or anything else, because you're doing really good to know what your own name was, so no one can fault you for that. For any of the listeners who think you just saw a black bear that night and for whatever reason mistook it for an unusual creature, what would you say to them about that?
I'd tell them that it was real. That now that I kind of got a description of what the Wolfman is and stuff, I just tell them that there's something out there that's unexplained, that there's something really out there. And don't think twice, you know what I'm saying? He might just roll up on you one day. There ain't no telling why he picked me. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I've always been in the weird stuff and weird things like that out there. And I've seen a lot of weird things, but not like that. Other things that I could explain, but this was, yeah. So I would tell them, don't make a joke about it. If you see something like that, look at it. Get a description of it, try to do your best and get out of there, whatever you can do to save your life. Cause there ain't no telling, he could run up on you.
Your question's a really easy one to answer about why they did that to you. They did what they did to you because you were there. It's not because of the clothes you were wearing or because of anything else. No, you were there. You were available, so that's why they did what they did to you. You said he couldn't take a direct path to get to you if he wanted to. Did that give you any kind of comfort?
He wasn't paying attention to me at all. Like, I wasn't sure how to take that moment. I did feel comfort because I knew he would have to come through the water or run all the way around all that tree line to come even around me to the boat, or come straight through, diagonal through the water, which I'm not sure how deep it is out there. I don't even know what lake it is. So, there was comfort, but then again, I was spooked.
Well, I'm sure you were spooked. Did that bear-looking dogman seem to be dominant over the ones that looked like hyenas, or vice versa?
Man, the two hyenas looked like they were more of the hunters. And I started thinking about it now, and I'm thinking maybe that was a whole distraction to get me, like him throwing out the rocks, to get me focused over here and for them to creep around on me. Because when I felt that presence, they were coming around that tree. They were on half through that tree line about to come out. And so I believe that they were more the predatory hunters, they was the ones. I think he was just out there they was playing a game, a trick on me, a hunter's game. Distract me on him while they come up behind.
I can understand why you'd feel that way, but yeah, that's not the case. If they wanted to get you, they would have gotten you. They were just having fun with you, and that's all there was to it. Were the two that looked like hyenas more frightening to look at than the one that looked like a bear, or vice versa, in your opinion?
No, the hyenas were definitely more scarier. They're the ones that put the more threat into me. The bear one, he was just weird, it was just it was strange. I felt real weird about it. But then the two on the tree line, the two hyena ones, man, they put the fear in me. Those are the ones that the hair stood up on me and was like, I need to go. I got to get. They're the ones that tell me I need to leave.
You just said that you felt like you needed to get, but you stood there and waited to reel in your lines on both poles and then carrying both poles to the car instead of just leaving the poles and getting the heck out of Dodge. Looking back on what happened that night, do you have any regrets about doing that, or are you still glad that you reeled in the lines on both rods and then got out of there?
Well, Vic, that's kind of funny because I was about to leave my fishing poles, man. I'm a fisherman, like I told you earlier, and those were pretty nice fishing poles. I don't have them anymore, but at the time, man, I really liked them. And so I took my time. I was reeling in fast. Don't get it twisted. I was reeling in real quick. And the only thing I regret is breaking them when I threw them in the back of my car. Because I threw them in the back of my Impala so fast that I slammed the door and it just broke all the tips off. I was like, dang. I had to get out of there. So I forgot to break them down because they split in half, so they could fit in the car easier. I forgot to even do that. I just threw them right in the back seat, slammed that door, and it just whoosh. Just broke them. And I was like, man.
Well, it's a shame that you broke your rods like that, but at least you made it out of there in one piece. So that's a good thing. You said that your second encounter spooked you more than the first one did. Why is that, considering the fact that you didn't even see anything the second time?
Boy, I tell you, because of the sound and because I didn't see nothing, it made me crazy. It made me think, am I losing my mind right now? Because there was something running towards me like a big, humongous Rottweiler dog, man. That's all I could thought of is somebody brought their dog and let him out here to run the track on the bike tracks out here off the river, dude. This thing was just, just running up like ready to just eat me and attack me like it was coming. And the only thing I could do was open my eyes and grab my fist and just start to punch. And there's nothing. And that's what I'm like, what? And I look down, there's these big paw prints that was fresh next to me in the wheelchair in the dirt. So that one spooked me. The other ones, I seen them and they told me to get out of there. Like I had that feeling, but this one I didn't see and it was running towards me like it was about to get me. And that's what is the scary part.
Yeah, I can understand why you feel that way. In a lot of cases, not being able to see what's supposedly coming after you, it is a lot worse than seeing what it is and being able to make some firm conclusions about things. So, yeah, I get it. I understand. When you first told your girlfriend about what happened to you the night you had that first encounter, you said that she was skeptical about it. What did she think about that encounter now?
I really don't know. She hasn't really told me her opinion about it. She's been kind of quiet about it. She hasn't said much about it. She does wear my Dogman hoodie, though, every once in a while. But, yeah, she hasn't really said anything about it really much. So I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like she believes you, but at least she wears the hoodie, so I guess it could be worse. I'll tell you what, it's about time for us to get out of here, Jay, but before we do you have any closing comments you'd like to share?
Yeah, man, I would like to just say, to all the listeners or whatever out there that's going to hear this, hey, don't think twice that there's something not out there on this planet. We're in just a big old black space out there on a rock floating by a blazing ball of fire for a sun. So if you don't think that there's something strange out there in them woods that possibly could be, man, be open-minded about stuff. And until you see one, you're going to probably be skeptical about it. But just know that what I seen was real, and I haven't really shared it that much to everybody, and I don't think I'm going to keep sharing. I'm going to share it right here, let them hear it. And, but just everybody else thinks I'm crazy. So, eventually one day, you never know, man. Everybody might start seeing them. Who knows, You never know what's out there in this world. It's a big old rock and a lot of water and trees, and just keep an open mind about things. That's all I got.
Yeah, that's always good advice. And people you tell, if you do tell them, they're going to think what they're going to think, and that's all there is to it. At least you know the truth. But having said that, I want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing the details of those experiences with us. I really appreciate it.
You too, Vic. I appreciate you actually contacting me back and listening and actually being interested in the story.
Well, you're welcome. That's what I'm here for. Thanks again so much. Have a great night.